Hey folks, welcome to Moonshift Audio. In this week's video, I'm going to be taking a look at whether or not you need to use preamps for your synths. Most people know that if you're recording any kind of microphone, then the preamp you use can really color the sound, and it's quite an important part of the signal path. But what about synths? Almost all synths are line level, so that delicate signal boosting stage from mic to line level isn't so important. But nonetheless, preamps do color the sound, and a little bit of saturation can go a long way. In a minute, I'm going to show you why I use this cheap Mackie mixer that's on the desk behind me, what the preamps in that sound like, and I'm going to compare that to running the synths directly into my interface with no preamp and play around with a couple of preamp modeling plugins so you can hear the difference that these different options impart. If you'd like to hear how I can help you take your tracks from part finished or almost there to something that you're actually really proud and excited to release, you can drop me a line in the comments down below or at moonshiftaudio.com. But for now, let's jump into the door and take a listen to these preamps. Alright, so here we are in the session, and for this example I'm going to be using this bass bot. It's the Mark II from Cyclone Analogic, and it's probably my favorite 303 clone that I've heard. It's got loads of great features. One of the main things that I really like is the sort of random pattern generator that can be really inspirational. But for this video, I'm just sending this sequence of notes to it from the DAW. So this is actually a pattern from a track that came out a fair while ago. It's just a really nice squelchy acid line. So here's what it sounds like. So that's where the sound's coming from. I'm going to show you how that gets into my DAW. You should be able to see here that in the middle of my desk, I've got this pretty basic Mackie mixer. I picked this up for about 70 quid on eBay. It's definitely not fancy. And the way that I use this is that all of the signals from all of my gear are split. They go into a patch bay, which I've got set in half normal mode, and they're split. And one split of the signal goes directly into my interface, and the other split of the signal comes out to this desk. And the reason why I have this desk here is so that when I'm throwing together a jam on hardware, I can build something quite quickly. It's got basic EQ, I've got a couple of effects units set up through it, and it's just much more hands-on, and it means I can get out the computer, which isn't always the most inspirational place to be. So when I play this, you should see here, got the 303 coming in. Also something coming in from the SH01, but ignore that. Yeah. So that's on that fader, and I'm not using any EQ or any effects. This is literally as it comes in. We can put some reverb on if we wanted, but we'll ignore that for now. And the thing that you notice is that when we record these in, I'm going to record the dry split that came straight into the interface, and I'm going to record this out the desk, and there is a difference in sound. So we're back in the session, and you should see that I've got two tracks. I've made one track which is called No Pre, and that is the split of that synth. It's not going through any preamps, and the other one is recorded via the Mackie desk. We'll just record a quick line on this. And you'll see there, like as you might expect, the one that's via the desk is coming in a bit hotter. It's obviously going through that preamp, and I have put some gain in there. Before we compare these, for a fair comparison, we need to make sure they're the same level. So that is just normalizing those. So let's take a listen. This is the version that came straight in with no preamp. And this is the one that came via the desk. Now, the difference is subtle. But to my ear, the Mackie has got just a little bit more kind of low end. And I think when we get to the point where I had the filter more open, just a little bit more kind of warmth to it. Perhaps not quite so much bite, but there is a difference. And often when I'm using my hardware synths, I do find myself having to do a little bit of work once I've brought them into the box to get them to sound how I was hearing them when I was auditioning them through the desk. So we can take a quick look at how we might do that, and I'm going to use a preamp model. So what I've chosen is the 1073 emulation from UAD. This is an absolutely classic preamp, and the UAD version is pretty good. And you can see I'm putting in a bit of gain. I'm putting in 5 dBs of gain here to drive it through the preamp, and I'm just pulling the equivalent out just to sort of volume match that. You hear that coming in and out. So now we can compare no preamp to the UAD. Just a little bit of heft in the low end and some nice gentle saturation, which is what the 1073 is known for. And then we've got the Mackie here. Which I feel is darker still. Just for one more example, I've duplicated the track that was recorded through no preamp again, and I've dropped on an instance of Soundtoys Radiator. Now this is based on an Audexe tube console. This is sort of the preamp in a 60s mixing console. So kind of the equivalent of what I'm doing with the Mackie desk, running it. So it's not a microphone preamp like the Neve, it's basically a tube saturation stage, and it's a little bit rougher, and I've just driven the input slightly and I've pulled back the output correspondingly, and here's what it sounds like. Just here it's adding some quite nice bite there without really breaking up. Now let's just compare all of these. So we're going to go no preamp. The UAD. I can hear it's just got a bit of saturation, but it's really smooth that. And just a little bit of extra body. Much more tube that you can hear on the radiator. It's rougher and it's less distinct. The low end is really coming out on the Mackie. Overall, I'd say really you've just kind of got 3 separate flavors there. Personally, I do like the UAD. I think it's the most detailed. The Radiator, if you wanted a bit of crunch, and the Mackie's just got a nice kind of slightly unique flavor. Obviously, this is all really subtle stuff, and you hear much more difference between preamps if you're actually using them to power microphones. But I would say, based on this, if you care about the details, it's definitely worth using something like this to get the most out of your hardware synths. That's it for this week, but please do like and subscribe for more tips, tricks, resources, and downloads from me at Moonshift Audio. Till next time.